Hi. All right, here's our video about 3.2 FOIL and GCF. So first up, this warm-up is asking you to multiply and combine like terms. One and two are very easy, but like 3 and 4, well, what does that mean? A times A. Well, if you multiply a variable times itself, you get that variable squared. So like the answer for 3 should say a squared plus 7a. Like that's how that would work. And then like 4, h times h is h squared minus 10h. Okay, like that's what that'd be. 5 and 6 aren't bad. Just make sure you're multiplying times negative numbers, and that's it becomes the opposite charge when you do that. Now, 8, 9, and 10 are a little different. 8, 9, and 10 are, you have to do this twice. Like you have to do the multiplication twice, and then you combine like terms. So if I were to do number 9, okay, I'm going to skip 8. I'm going to do 9. So first up, I got to do x times x minus 4. Right? That is x squared minus 4x. Okay, so that is the, well, I'll put parentheses around it for now. That's what the first one is. Now the second one, plus 3x minus 12. Okay, so that's me doing 3 times x minus 12. All right, parentheses, but I don't really need to do that anymore. Okay, so notice now that we have x squared. All right, I cannot combine an x thing with x squared because those are different. And then now I have negative 4x plus 3x. That becomes negative 1x, which is just negative x. And notice I got minus 12, and that's actually what the answer is for number 9. That is it. And that's kind of how you do number 8, but 8's a little bit easier because everything is positive. Number 10, so you do x times x minus 3, and then over here, make sure it's negative 5 times x minus 3. So that's negative 5 times x, and negative 5 times negative 3, and then you would combine like terms like that. Okay, so here we have this. So I gotta go kind of fast. These videos can only be 15 minutes. If I feel like I'm going too fast, feel free to rewind and hear me again. All right, so as an expression of two unlike terms, that is a binomial. That is what that is. That is the top one. Anytime you see the prefix bi in the English language, that means two. A trinomial is an expression of three unlike terms. So anytime you see tri, that means 3. Now, a multiplication of a binomial times another binomial leads to 4 multiplications. Okay, so the 4 multiplications we're going to do is spelled out FOIL. That is first, outside, inside, and last. Those are the FOIL that would go here. All right, so doing FOIL is, so I'm going to do what is x plus 6 times x minus 7. Okay, so that's the example. All right, so FOIL means the first thing you do is the first thing you see on both sides, parentheses, x times x is x squared. All right, then I got to do x times the outside number, which is negative 7, so that is negative 7x. The inside, the I, represents the two numbers that are close to each other in the middle. 6 times x is 6x. And then lastly is the two numbers in the far right are both parentheses, so that's positive 6 times negative 7 is negative 42. All right, now every single time in these questions, the stuff in the middle are like terms. I actually have to combine negative 7x and 6x. That becomes negative 1x. And then the simplified answer for that example is x squared minus x minus 42. All right, I'll do one more of these just so you're not too crazy confused about this. However, you were taught this in Algebra 1 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. You were. All right, I'm going to do, which one should I do? I'm going to do 7, okay? All right, so let's say if I want to do 3n minus 4 times 3n minus 4. All right, so what happens? Well, first up, 3n times 3n is 9n squared. Okay, so 3 times 3 is 9, n times n is n squared. 3n times negative 4 is negative 12n, so that's this 3n times this negative 4. And then I got to do this negative 4 times this 3, and that also becomes negative 12n. And now I'm doing a negative times a negative. So that is negative 4 times negative 4. That is positive 16. And then the stuff in the middle I can combine. The 9n squared is not combinable with anything, but negative 12n minus 12n is negative 24n, and then plus 16. That would be the answer for number 7. Okay, so that's how you do these. Really the same process over and over again. It's just your answer is going to be different depending on variables and numbers. All right, 13 is a geometry problem. If you want to get the area of a rectangle, you do base times height. So basically what that question is asking you to do is what is 5x plus 4 times 4x minus 4? Like you actually would multiply those two together, and you should come out with either F or G as an answer when you do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next up, we got words that I really would love to say for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? So an integer is a number that can be expressed without fractions. Fractions or decimals. Sorry, for some reason, if I write the word decimal, so decimals. Let's write decimals or fraction. So for some reason, I write the word fraction, it disappears on decimals. Whatever. Decimals or fractions. All right, so what an integer is a number that can be expressed without decimals or fractions, like negative 25, negative 13, 3, 2000, whatever. All right, factor. A factor is an integer that can be used to divide another integer, and the quotient is another integer. Quotient meaning the answer to a division problem. So, for example, the factors of 12 are positive and negative 1. So this means positive or negative, like positive 1 and negative 1 are both factors of 12. So it's 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Because these are all numbers, you can do 12 divided by any of these numbers, and you get another integer. Like 12 divided by 4 is 3, and so on. All right, so the last one, greatest common factor. The biggest factor that 2 or more integers have in common. For example, if I had the numbers, let's say 12 and 18. Okay, the greatest common factors of 12 and 18 is 6. 6. So the GCF is 6 because 6 is the biggest number I can divide both of those by. I mean, so like 12 divided by 6 is 2, 18 divided by 6 is 3. So I know not, like 9 is a factor of 18. Like I can do 18 divided by 9 and get 2, but 9 is not a factor of 12. So I can't use 9. 9 is not a factor of 12. The biggest one is 6. So if you want to get, so what are the factors of 36? So that is positive negative 1, positive negative 2, positive negative 3, positive negative 4, not 5, because I cannot do 36 divided by 5. I can do 6. And how do you go from there? Well, 36 divided by 4 is 9. 36 divided by 3 is 12. 36 divided by 2 is 18. And 36 divided by 1 is 36. So it's actually all of those are factors of 36. And not just the positive ones, the negative ones too. Yeah. GCF would be, like for number 17 is 7, and you can figure out 18. All right, to factor something means to separate it into its most simplified factors. Examples of factoring binomials is this. So we're really just factoring binomials today. So what that means is you want to find the greatest common factor of both terms, and you divide that out. So to identify the GCF of the numbers and variables, put the GCF to the left of parentheses. Inside the parentheses is what would be left after dividing everything by the GCF. For example, number 19, the greatest common factor of 12 and 24 is 12. The greatest common factor of h squared and h is h. And now I'm going to divide both of these things by 12h. 12h squared divided by 12h is h. 24h divided by 12h is 2. And that's what the answer is for number 19. 12h times h plus 2. That is the factored version of what 19 says. Let me do one more. Let me do 24. All right, 45r squared minus 15r. All right, the greatest common factor of 45 and 15, if you figure it out, is 15. They're both divisible by 15. Greatest common factor of r squared and r is r. Okay, now I have to divide both of those things by 15r. 45r squared divided by 15r is 3r. Minus 15r divided by 15r is 1. That's the answer for 24. All right. Finally, this is how to use the skill we just did, but to actually solve for the variable. So do the factoring binomial process from the previous page. Separate both factors to each equal 0 and solve for both separately. In these types of problems, one answer is always 0. The other is an easy one-step problem. All right, here's my example. 2z squared plus 20z. 2z squared plus 20z. Okay, so if I want to, the greatest common factor of 20 and 2 is 2. Greatest common factor is z squared and z is z. Now I divide by z on 2z on both things. That becomes z plus 10. Okay, so this is like equals 0, and that creates two answers. Well, 2z, well, it creates two problems. 2z equals 0, that means, well, z is 0, right? Now, the next one is z plus 10 equals 0. If you subtract 10 from both sides, you find out z is negative 10. So that means you get two answers. Z is 0, comma, negative 10. And that's actually what this is. All right, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do 26. All right. All right, for 26, I got, all right, what's the greatest common factor of 9 and 27 is 9. Greatest common factor of x squared and x is x. All right, 9x squared divided by 9x is x. 27x divided by 9x is 3. Okay, so now I factored them correctly. 9x equals 0, x is 0, because you divide both sides by 0. Notice the answer is, one of the answers is always 0. The other one, x minus 3 equals 0. If I add 3 to both sides, I find out x is 3. So the answer for number 20, for 26 is x is 0 or 3. Yeah, when you see a comma in math, it's like or, like that means it could be 0 or 3. All right. And that's what you got to do. Probably sign a couple of Excels too while you're at it. But that's it. Have a good day.